Hey everybody, welcome to another GG.CO.UK video with me, Daryl Carter. Again, I'm joined by the excellent Andrew Mount, who's had a fantastic weekend this weekend. Just a big thanks before we kick off to SBK for sponsoring this video. Check the link below. There is a free £20 risk-free bet, so you get your money returned in cash if you lose that bet. Perhaps use it on an Ante-Post bet for one of Andrew's fantastic tips after a great weekend this weekend for GG. We are looking at day 2 of the Cheltenham Festival. We are skimming through the races. Just a reminder to all of those out there, this is a very early look at the Cheltenham Festival. We will have a preview coming up on GG.CO.UK a week before the festival, a full preview of all 4 days. But for the moment, it's a time for me and Andrew to thrash out some early thoughts on day 2. So, Andrew, thanks for joining me. How are you? How was your weekend?
Yeah, pretty good, thanks, Daryl. Just before we go on, there's that tenner I owe you for not mentioning Goshen and the fact that I wasn't particularly complimentary about his champion hurdle prospects last week while you were. And, of course, he absolutely bolted up at Wincanton. So that's made an already intriguing champion hurdle even more exciting. But enough of that. Yeah, good weekend. Starting off with Gaillard Quest, 18 to 1 into 12 to 1 and won at Haydock, and we found that on the weekend watch video. So yeah, all good. Confidence high on the way to Cheltenham. Buzzing.
Can't say the same for myself, unfortunately. I had an absolutely dire weekend. Probably one of the worst weekends I've had of the year so far. But today's a new day, Andrew, and we are looking forward to the Cheltenham Festival. We're going to preview the first race. It's the 120. It's the Ballymore Novices Hurdle. Gaillard de Mesnil is heading the market, or Mesnil. Appreciating here, but likely to go to the Supreme. Bob Ollinger, Bravemansgame, head the market. And then it's about 10 to 1-ish bar those 4. Andrew, what are your thoughts at this early stage on this race? Are you confident on anything at the moment, or are you waiting for this race to cut?
I wouldn't say confident. I do quite like Gaillard de Mesnil for the Willie Mullins yard. It did impress me at the DRF because he won in the first time hood. Mullins hurdlers in that particular form of headgear tend to underperform, particularly in Grade 1 contests. And he also came from off the pace in a race where the pace held up. The second and third were up there throughout, and he's come from a little further back than ideal. I thought he was a big eye catcher in that race, as was the 4th, who we've talked about previously, Fakira, who was probably going to end up in the Albert Bartlett. So I'd certainly upgraded that performance. I thought 3 to 1 was a fair price. And in terms of dangers, Bravemansgame, obviously, who very impressive in the Chellow hurdle at Newbury last time. You'll see a lot of stuff written about, Chellow hurdle winners not perhaps doing particularly well at in this race in the Ballymore hurdle. But I remember when Rev de Civler ran in the Ballymore in 2010, because I owned a share in that one. And he'd won the Chellow. I did a lot of research into those Chellow winners and how they got on at Cheltenham. And generally, it wasn't a big sample size, and a lot of them were running on completely different ground. Newbury in December, it tended to be hock deep mud. Cheltenham at the time in March, you often got good or even quicker ground on some occasions. So if you fancy Bravemansgame, don't be put off just because of the record of Chellow hurdle winners not always being supersonic. So, and again, you tend not to get the Irish coming over in the Chellow at Newbury in December, but you do at Cheltenham in March. So you talk about a better race. So yeah, Gaillard de Mesnil, Bravemansgame, the 2 I liked. Probably just leaning towards the Mullins runner at this stage.
Yeah, I was a big fan of Bravemansgame, actually. And I do think Gaillard de Mesnil is the worthy favourite. But I thought Bravemansgame is one of the few horses that has excited me this season. And I just went back and watched these couple of races from Newbury and his Sceau run very closely. He seems to love his racing. I think he's quite an intelligent horse. I was watching him back at Newbury, and he was the first horse to switch onto his left lead coming round the left bend. And it wasn't at the bend, it was just before the bend. Most horses do it as they start turning to the left, but he did it very early there. And then when he came into the straight to a hurdle, he can quickly switch onto his right lead and pop the hurdle away. I just thought he was very intelligent the way he was doing it. And if you go back and watch his first run at Sceau, he didn't have a clue what he was doing that day. He was all over the place, jumping out to the left, jumping out to the right, not knowing what he was doing, switching his legs up and down the hill. And it was just...
looks pretty good now after Soaring Glory won the Betfair hurdle yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I just thought that he is just improving with every single run. And the thing that drew me towards him was what he'd done in the final 100 yards of his shallow hurdle win, where he switched his legs again to quicken up and go away. And Harry Cobden was almost like, well, that'll do. I just really liked him. Really liked the way he did it. Now, the form, obviously, of his shallow hurdle win has taken a few knocks, and it's probably not the strongest we've ever seen. Stargate's been dropped £2 down to a mark of 145, which I think is fair. I mean, Stargate did brush his rivals very easily aside in his 2 starts prior. And if he was off a mark in the 130s and he went into a handicap, you'd fancy Stargate off a mark of 130. So for me, he must be a 140s horse. Bravemansgame beaten by 10 lengths, which, you'd have to say he's into the 150s. And over the last few years, Envoy Allen was 156, City Island 147, Samco 155, Willoughby Court 147, York Hill 156, Fahim 152. So he is there or thereabouts for me. I think 92 is more than a fair price if he's going to continue to improve. So I did like him. The one I did want to touch on with you, Andrew, is Bob Ollinger. Now, a lot of people like this horse. A lot of people are going to absolutely batter me when I say that I think he should be running in the Supreme. And the reason I think he should be running in the Supreme is because he is a completely different horse to the 2 we've just mentioned. If you look at the stride length of Bob Ollinger, he's a short, sharp, striding horse. He's got a very smart turn of foot, whereas the other 2 got big, long strides and they eat up the ground. I thought the strongest piece of 2 mile form this season was Bob Ollinger's defeat by a length to Fernie Hallow on his first start of the year. And I thought he was entitled to improve on that. And I didn't think that what he did at Nace on his final start when he beat Blue Lord by 6 lengths, I didn't think he was the strongest at the finish that day. What do you make of Bob Ollinger?
Yeah, I mean, I'd agree that Fernie Hollow Bob Ollinger race was pretty special, wasn't it? In terms of the distance between they put between themselves and the third, albeit they bet sort of 3 on Fernie Hollow, 7-4 Bob Ollinger. The rest were big prices, but it was still impressive. I mean, he won a point, didn't he, over 3 miles? I know that's not always a good gauge of whether they're going to need that sort of trip over hurdles or under rules. But he does seem to have got even better since he stepped up to 2.5, and both wins coming left-handed. He did something that's not always easy to do. He went from maiden hurdle winner to Grade 1 hurdle winner in one single step, winning very impressively last time out. But yeah, for me, there was just more in the form of the other 2 that I prefer, particularly Gaillard de Mesnil. But again, it wouldn't surprise you to see the 3 of them fighting it out completely. But interesting, what you say about cutting back to 2 miles and has he got the speed for that? And I'm not sure. I'll sit on the fence with that one. Maybe he needs 2 miles too. Maybe they'll introduce another novice hurdle at next year's Cheltenham Festival.
Yeah, it'll probably be a mare's race, Okay, let's move on to the 155. It is formerly known as the RSA Chase. I've not got loads to say about this because I think you agree that Monkfish is a good thing here, and I think this is one of 2 races during the day that I think is going to cut up quite significantly, and I think he's home and hosed, to be honest with you. I think that it's very difficult to knock him. He's got the course form, the Albert Bartlett win last year. That form is extremely strong, running right through to the Stayers Hurdle this year. He's been really impressive. He keeps getting better with every run. I can't knock him, Andrew. I mean, there are horses in here at bigger prices that are going to fill the place, I suppose. I wouldn't write off Sporting John a price after that run, beating Blue at Sandown. I thought the step up and trip might do him a world of good, but he is entered into the Marsh Novice Chase as well, so we'll see where he goes. And the Big Breakaway was the other one I was quite keen on because of his Cheltenham win earlier in the season. But I wouldn't want to be getting too deep into any of the other horses in this field, to be honest with you, because I think Monkfish wins, and I think he wins well.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. I think Monkfish is the banker of the festival. Not my price that I'm kind of getting involved with. Maybe I'll stick him in a few multiples on the day. But again, looking at the next sort of few in the market, I mean, latest exhibition has finished second to Monkfish on 3 occasions. If he ran here instead of the 3 mile 6 race, then he could do so again. You wouldn't be surprised to, and again, at current prices, 8 to 11, 14 to 1. you're looking at a forecast of sort of 10 to 1ish, 12 to 1 perhaps. The big breakaway I did write up after that second place to Chamblou in the Courtauld Star Novices Chase. I thought he did really well on a track that was too sharp for him, coming from off the pace, which we've seen time and time again. It's hard to do at Kempton. I do just worry that the Tizard horses seem to have gone quiet again after a couple of wins. They were particularly disappointing this weekend, so the jury's out about the yard form. And again, I wouldn't really want to be backing him at 10 to 1 each way now, until I'd rather wait to the day and see what how the yards runners have been going in the past few days. Royal Pagaille, we reckon, is going to go for the Gold Cup, obviously. So you're going down the field. Yeah, Sporting John, I put up each way for the Ballymore last year. I think, like a lot of people against Envoy Alain, I thought I was buying money or having a risk-free each way bet, and he's finished 7th. He did come back to form at Sandown last time. Maybe a shade flattered by racing wide on a track where the inside looked deep, but I still think there's improvement in him. And the fact that they kept him to Grade 1 level despite being beaten on his chase debut last time looks significant. But as you say, he's got multiple options. I mean, we should also mention we've just had the Reynoldstown Chase at Ascot on Saturday, a Grade 2 contest. Traditionally, it was one of those races where you sort of finish second in that, you'd end up going on to win, win at Cheltenham. We'd seen that time and time again that race has proved a good guide to the RSA, but not necessarily with the winner. And so I was very keen on De Machine, who traded at 10 to 1 on when finishing second on Saturday. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him run here and run a good race. I mean, he's 33 to 1 at the moment. You're only he can finish 30 lengths behind Monkfish in third, but you're still going to get a good return on your cash. So yeah, he was one that I was looking at. De Machine potentially each way if he ran here. But yeah, it's all about Monkfish for me this race.
Yeah, totally agree. Okay, moving swiftly on to the Coral Cup. This is a handicap. Obviously, we don't have the weights. We don't have the 90% of the Irish marks. We don't have much at all to go on. I've had a small bet on Koshari, a big price for this after his eye-catching run at the Dublin Racing Festival, finishing 6th. I couldn't make an overly strong case for anything at the moment, to be honest with you. And Koshari certainly doesn't sit well with the stats. So it was a bit punty. It was a bit of a chance. Is there anything catching your eye for the Coral Cup at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, it's normally an Irish benefit, isn't it? Although when the Irish don't win it, it does tend to go to one of the bigger British trainers. Nicky Henderson's won this 3 times in the last sort of 7 or 8 years, which is something we should mention. And although Alan King is something like 1 from 140 with his hurdlers at Cheltenham recently, he did win this in 2013 with Medinas, and he has got he has had quite a few place at big prices as well. So the Glancing Queen, who of course finished 3rd to Bravemansgame in the Chellow Hurdle, she'd be quite interesting if running here, because she was, I think, best of the British runners when 4th in the bumper a couple of years ago. She finished 5th in the bumper, or 5th or 7th, I think it was, last year in the bumper on a seasonal debut. And she needs a big field, strong pace, I think. And Exeter didn't suit last time. Dawdled, small field. She raced on the slowest part of the track. So, she's obviously got other entries. She's got the mares races. But if the Glancing Queen came here, I think she's 25, 20 to 1 with those who mention her. She could go well. And Benson is a horse I'm keen on backing wherever he runs next. I'm hoping it's going to be in the Supreme, for which he's about 50 to 1, but he is quoted between 14 to 1 and 20 to 1 for this race. So there's a couple of British trained runners who can perhaps fight it out for 6th place behind a host of well-handicapped Gordon Elliott horses. But yeah, the Glancing Queen and Benson were on my very tentative early shortlist for this race.
Do you think they've been holding Benson back a little bit? He obviously didn't run in the Betfair. Do you think they've been holding on to him for perhaps a run at the festival of his current handicap mark?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the Supreme, they wouldn't have been worried about his handicap mark if they were going to take the Supreme route. So maybe that means he is going to line up here in the Coral Cup. But again, given how often, and again, this race, you often see horses coming from off the pace to to get into the frame or even win it. And of course, we know how Benson's ridden. He was tailed off out the back of the telly at Ascot last time, and how he's finished 4th of 17, I've no idea. So impressive at Sandown the time before. Stiff uphill finish will suit, and yeah, he could be the each way shout if he runs here.
Fair case for Benson there. Okay, let's move on to the Champion Chase, the feature race of the day. Head in the market is Ante-Post, who has done absolutely nothing wrong this season. Odds on with many firms now. Altior in at second. Fav, Nube Negra, Politolog, Fakir de Dowdries, First Flow, Min, Put the Kettle On, and 12 to 1 bar, or 12-ish to 1 bar the rest. Andrew, what are your thoughts on this race at the minute? Is Ante-Post a good thing?
Maybe it wouldn't surprise you if he bolted up as he did at the DRF, but he lacks Cheltenham experience. He was obviously one of the favourites for the race last year when it looked like a three-way go between Defi de Sceau, Altior, and Ante-Post. We ended up only having one of those in the end, and that one Defi de Sceau disappointed. It just wouldn't surprise you if he won this virtually on the bridle. But by the same token, he lacks Cheltenham experience, and you just think, maybe the track will find him out. Maybe he'll clout one and lose interest. And if he comes under severe pressure, what will he find? And odds of 11 to 10 on or thereabouts, I can leave him alone and enjoy his performance if he does bolt up. But from a betting perspective, look for something bigger. Altior, I think, is well past his best, and I'd love to see him win this. I'd love to see him hit a flat spot and stay on and get involved in the finish. He might do. He might finish second, third, fourth. But I just worry about him winning this at a single figure price at his age. Politolog, never saw a rival when making all in this race last year. He only beat Grianatine in the Tingle Creek. That form doesn't look particularly special. And I know you were against him at Ascot last time, and he got found out there by First Flow. And that same sort of pace scenario looks likely here, because we've got Politolog, front runner, Put the Kettle On, out and out front runner who made all in the Arkle last year, and First Flow. So if those three line up, you can just, all you can think of, I want to back something that's going to be ridden a little bit more patiently, creep through, and hopefully with a good round of jumping, be there at the business end. So that could well be the favourite. But at the prices, I was looking at Ibleo for Venetia Williams, a very progressive handicap chaser. Same ownership as Sceau, who of course went from progressive handicapper in these colours to finishing second in the Ryanair Chase to Frodon, beating a length at 33 to 1. Somehow I only managed to back him to win that day. I've no idea why. I think I was staring at the tote screens and it was a much bigger price, so I just put a few quid on that. But it was a great performance, and so Ibleo just reminds me of him. And I think, again, big field, strong pace, it's going to suit him. He likes Cheltenham. And he could be one that comes through, picks up the pieces, and finishes second or third. She's done this before, Venetia Williams, with in these big festival races. I think Sceau might even been placed in an Arkle, or sort of third of seventh, I think it was. So the owners are very sporting. They like to go for the big races. So Ibleo each way at 40 to 1 is where I'm looking at the moment.
That's a very fair shout. I actually thought that this race was going to cut up quite significantly. I thought, including Ibleo, I had it down to probably be a field of about 9 or 10. The average runners in the last 10 years, field of runners has been 8.9. So I think if we get 10, we'll be doing all right this year, especially with a hot pot favourite. I did think there was a bet in here, actually. And people are going to call me mad, but it's yesterday's game spirit winner, Sceau Royale. 7 of the last 10 years, this race has been run on good to soft or better ground. He's got 3 lengths to farm with Altior from 2019. That came on soft ground, that run. And if it does come up soft for this race, they've already said they're not going to run him. He's going to go to Aintree. I just think at 20 to 1, Sceau Royale is a big price, given I think this is going to cut up. If you were to say, let's say Ante-Post and Altior are both are finishing first and second, for instance, then you're getting around 4 to 1 for Sceau Royale to beat Nube Negra, Politolog, First Flow. I think Put the Kettle On will go the mare's route. Rouge Vif, Duke de Genevra, and Ibleo. That's sort of where I see this race at the moment. And I thought 20-1. If you're getting 4-1 to get in the frame, I thought he was a fair bet, especially if the ground came up quite quick. He's had a fantastic season this year. The other horse I was keen on is Altior.
Go back to Sceau Royal. I've long had an opinion that he needs a small field, or he's better in small fields. You look at his wins, 12 of his last 13 wins have come in fields of 6 or fewer runners, Sceau Royal. The exception was in a handicap hurdle at Foss Lass when he raced on the wide outside. So I would say, obviously, common sense, his chance increases with every horse who doesn't turn up, but that's common sense anyway. But it's just that sometimes he hits perhaps traffic problems, maybe is likely to get hampered if there's sort of 10, 12 runners. So yeah, I could see him. He was third a couple of years ago, wasn't he, to Altior?
So his form figures on
softer than ideal.
Yeah, his form figures on good to soft ground or better are 1-2, 1-1, 2-2, 2, 1-1, 2-1. The only horses to have beat him is North Hill Harvey, Altior, and Grand Sensei in the Kingwell Hurdle, which was a strange race. So I just thought at 20-1 after that performance yesterday, Champ ran really, really well yesterday, and I thought he put it up to Sceau Royal. I thought Sceau Royal was very good yesterday, and like I say, I think if this field does cut up quite a bit, with an average field of runners of 8.9 over the years, I think it might suit him. And I don't think he'll be 20-1 on the day. Put it that way if he goes in.
Certainly appreciate the likely strong pace as well. I don't think Champ went quick enough for him. He was a little bit keen in the game spirit. And it's a great shout. And if he can avoid traffic trouble, given his running style, he'll be round the inside, travelling well. He obviously wouldn't want horses coming back onto him who are weakening or any fallers around him. But couldn't argue with that. You make a great case.
Yeah, and this is with a view of I'm not saying he's going to beat Chacun-Pour-Soi. I'm saying you're getting with a view of getting 4-1 for him to hit the frame.
I was going to say you've got the straight forecast, you've got the without the favourite. It sounds like betting him each way at 20-1 and betting him without the favourite is could be the way to go.
Yeah, like I say, the other one was Altior. I was quite surprised that Altior in the without market was 10-3 without Chacun-Pour-Soi. Now I know you're not keen; you think he's well past his best. I'm probably more a fan than using my punting brain for Altior. I've got to be honest. Yeah. But these horses can spark back into life and give one last flash of excellence we've seen over the years at the Cheltenham Festival. It's a different kettle of fish, but. I couldn't write him off. I think this is going to be Altior's last Cheltenham Festival.
It's all about prices, though, isn't it? I mean, you're talking 20-1 Sceau Royal. You've convinced me that's a good price, and I'm probably going to have a bet on your say-so now. But you tell me 8-1 about an 11-year-old who has been out of the house less often in lockdown than I have. So
I've let myself down, haven't I?
Yeah. But I take your point that no one's going to be surprised if Altior runs a good race and finishes second or third. But if you want to back one each way, if you're having your 20 quid free bet with SBK and you want to have a tenner each way on one, what would you rather have it on, Sceau Royal or Altior?
Oh yeah, Sceau Royal, of course, yeah. But it doesn't mean I'm ditching Altior, that's for sure. Last Cheltenham Festival, it's the last time I'm going to back him at Cheltenham. I'm going to back him. Okay, let's move on. Let's leave that there. The 340 is the cross-country chase. Andrew, I haven't really got a lot to say about this one either. I think Easysland was extremely impressive when winning the race last year. I thought he ran very well in the handicap at the same venue at Cheltenham, trying to give £22 to everything in the field that day. And I thought it was a perfect prep for this. Now, I've heard that he has missed a couple of engagements en route to this race, and he is a little bit weak in the market. So, from an Ante-Post perspective, I wouldn't be touching this race for a barge pole, but I do think he's the most likely winner.
It's the Cotton horses. I mean, they had that favourite beaten at Warwick the other day, and I'd heard one rumour that his gallops had been frozen for 10 days and this one hadn't done any work. And I heard another rumour that said, they defeat not envisaged, and she got beaten. And so you look at her preparation last year; she was running, in the month before Cheltenham, and she was fairly busy that winter. This time she's just had the one run, as you say, chinned at odds of 11-8 on when, in handicap company. There were excuses forthcoming that day. The ground was quicker than ideal. But yeah, I wouldn't want to be backing her Ante-Post. You'd want to sort of see her turn up on the day and see what she looked like in the paddock, although very few of us are going to get anywhere near the paddock. Tiger Roll, again, he's an 11-year-old. When the cross-country races first started, he used to be able to make money just backing every horse who was age 10 or older. The younger horses never got a look in, and then something changed, and the next thing, you look at this race in recent years, it's all been about the young horses, and sort of like a 6-year-old last year, that was quite incredible. Lots of 8 and 9-year-olds, and very rare for horses to win it in double-figure age categories, unless they're perhaps repeat winners, like Balthazar King was when winning as a 10-year-old. So, I thought Easysland, if I had to pick one, didn't really want to have a bet at the price, or probably have a bet in the race full stop. But there is an interesting horse called Breuil, who's got multiple options at the festival. And of course, I mean, you look at Tiger Roll. He's won 4 times at the festival. He won a Triumph Hurdle. He won the 4-miler, or the 3-mile 6.5 furlong where it is now, but that doesn't quite roll off the tongue so well. And then he won 2 cross-country chases. Now again, we've got another winner of that National Hunt Challenge Cup, the Grade 2 Novice Chase for amateur riders. That was Breuil for Ben Pauling. Now, I've long thought that Breuil is a better horse in the spring. Now, he's won 6 times in his career, 4 times in March, April, or May. Twice he's won early season in November when perhaps the ground wasn't quite so bad. But one of those was in a novice hurdle at Sedgefield when he's outclassed the opposition. The other one was when he was 9-1 on in a match at Huntingdon, so obviously a race that took little winning. Now, they keep, every time he runs, it's like there's an unwritten law somewhere that you must send off Breuil at an unrealistically short price. And he was favourite again, 9-4 at Musselburgh for that 4-mile 1 race. He's got beaten 27 lengths into 4th. And but I just think with a bit of sun on his back, please God we get some in the next few weeks, maybe on quicker ground. He has got other entries at Cheltenham. And he's also entered in the Grand National. But if he does run here, I thought he could run well. Obviously, he's got to prove that he can handle these cross-country course. But
it can be a
25-1.
specialist. It could be a specialist there.
But everyone who develops into a specialist must have sort of had to run here for the first time at one stage. So
you smart
you do get the occasional big price one who wins first time over the fences. So maybe Breuil, if he's using this as like his last prep for the Grand National, and he could. I'm not even sure he'll get in the Grand National now, so maybe they'll be tempted to have a real go for this.
Yeah, very interesting. Okay, there's an alternative there to the short price favourite with Breuil, so brilliant. The Grand Annual, Andrew, is the 4:15. To be honest with you, I'm struggling to tell you what's going to run, let alone anything else. Sky Pirate does hit various markets around 6-1-ish. A wave of the seas in there. Black Bow, Embittered, and Tucas, Ibleo. There's a sea of Irish horses towards the top of the markets. A lot of them are quite high in the weights, to be honest. Is there anything that's catching your eye at the moment?
Well, one thing to say is that you look at the roll call of this race in recent years. There's been some real outsiders. I used to have a share in a bookmaker's pitch at the Cheltenham Festival for my old firm, Martin of Leicester. And we could be going into this race doing our absolute cobblers and then come out in front on the day. And I think it was Oiseau de Nuit at 40-1 in 2011, which is the one that I particularly like. 2 years ago, we had a 66-1 shot, 12-year-old Croco Bay. We've had 28-1, 20-1, 16-1. A couple of favourites in that time, Alderwood and Chosen Mate. But, if someone tells you they've got a good thing in this race and it's 4-1 favourite, then just smile politely and walk away from them, because they're clearly insane. So you need a lot of luck. You need a lot of luck in running as well, don't you? And the winner often comes from off the pace, and there can be carnage in terms of sort of fallers and horses sort of coming back through the field and causing interference. So you could have sort of 6 picks and be lucky to get through the place pot. So at the moment, obviously, look at what Nicky Henderson runs in the race, because it's the Johnny Henderson, Grand Annual race. It's named after his father. The Inval was 5th at 50-1 last year, and with a lot of bookies offering 5 or even more places on this race. That's one of the angles to look for. But don't be put off by the older brigade as well. You've got a lot of older horses that run well in this. So, maybe look for one that's fairly sort of battle hardened, hasn't got any sort of falls or pulled up, lots of sort of seconds, thirds and fourth, and just hope they can stay in touch and stay on their feet and come through for a place. But yeah, nothing to say at this stage in terms of who that might be.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same. I mean, Grenadine was suffered a poor run in the race last year. There was umpteen horses with excuses, so it's definitely one for me to wait for the day as well. Okay, the final race on day 2 is the Champion Bumper. I think you're quite sweet on Kilcruit here, aren't you? Favourite?
Impressed by the performance in the DRF is probably. I mean, of all the. I was working on William Hill Radio that day, and I was asked, what was your performance of the day, and it was just, I didn't have to think. It was Kilcruit. It was the whoosh factor. It was the jumps equivalent of a Razi. It's just like showed an incredible turn of foot in his flat career. And I just thought, wow, if he does that at Cheltenham, then he could be the next Arkle. Obviously, it's easy to get carried away with a performance like that, and he's 13-8, 6-4. So not the kind of price that I want to be playing at. And we saw Anticipated beaten in these colours when a similar price last year, beaten by the Cheveley Park horse, because they've got the second favourite, Sir Gerard. I've had a good look at this race. I did a preview for GG, but I was really struggling to get away from the front end of the market. Kilcruit, Sir Gerard, and Eileen Dover. I mean, she's a wonderful mare, hard not to like. It's generally, this has always been a race for the Irish. Even when you go back 15 years, 16 years when this race first started, and the Irish weren't dominating the Cheltenham Festival as they do now, it was almost sort of patronising. He said, "Oh yeah, we'll give the bumper to the Irish; they can win that." And 41 entries, 33 of them are trained in Ireland. So it's like the British trainers have given up. They realise they can't win it with what they think are their best horses at this stage of their career, so they're not even trying now. But Eileen Dover, say she's 3 from 3, trained by Pam Sly as well. So you'd love to see a smaller yard like hers, do well at Cheltenham. And very impressive at market raising last time out, and she could get in the frame. She's going to be getting weight from the two.
Is she going? Is she, or is she being kept back? Is she going, or is she being kept
I'm
back?
not sure. I mean, there's that Grade 2 bumper at Aintree, the one that Glancing Queen has won previously, and generally speaking, you could see she could be the best mare in the race, the best of the British, but still finish 5th, 6th, or 7th, and then pop up at Aintree and win that. So, and obviously, she's had 3 bumper runs. I don't think she can go to Aintree if she's had a 4th. So, I wouldn't be surprised if they did leave her for that. But I'd be interested in it each way if she did run here instead of Aintree in April.
Yeah, I'll tell you what's interesting about Kilcruit is that his RPR recorded last time at Leopardstown would have been enough to win every single bumper at Cheltenham in the last 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, that's something I mentioned in my preview, actually, that I just forgot to say just now. £10 clear on Racing Post ratings of Sir Gerard. And over the years, you could just look at the Racing Post ratings in this race, back the one who's got the top figure, and make a few quid. So, and normally it's like, £1, £2, £3, £4, not 10. But I thought it was a breathtaking performance at Leopardstown. And if you produce, I mean, one thing to mention is a bigger field, stronger pace. Last year, you couldn't win on the front end. And I think something like the first 8 homes, 7 of them were ridden patiently. And the only one who wasn't was the runner-up, Anticipated, who probably has just sat too close to a strong early gallop. When Fiona won this many years ago, they went stupidly quick. And,
she came from the clouds, didn't she?
Sorry?
Came from the clouds, Fiona.
That's
didn't
right.
She?
And I remember I was at the track, and I remember the commentator saying that how quick they'd gone. I just looked at the back, looked out back and thought, what's that out there that you can hardly see? Oh, that's, and it was say we were bookmaking then. That was the worst result in the book, I think, for Fiona. And needless to say, she's come through and won. So there is the pace angle, although of course with no amateur jockeys this year, we assume, and professional riders, that could be different. Maybe, you know what it's like, keen amateurs, 25 of them or 20 of them, and perhaps going a little bit too quick, getting carried away by the occasion, setting it up for a closer. Maybe the best horse doesn't win. we've seen you can back all of Willie Mullins' horses in this race over the years and make a profit. That's because he's had a 50-1 winner on it, so it's not always the first string that wins it. So there's the pace angle to consider. But from what we know so far, from the bare form, I just thought, Kilcruit was the obvious one.
Yeah, I agree. It looks very difficult to take him on. I did mention before, I think on Twitter, that horses don't win the champion bumper on the bridle. I got that wrong because 2 previously have done. But I do like him. He's a nice horse. I didn't get over as excited as you did, I must admit. I thought Sir Gerhard was very interested in just the obvious danger. There was one at a big price I did like for Paul Nicholls. Petrosan, he was very good on his debut. He ran a fast at circuit time, the Division 2 bumper. He was the second fastest, 4 out to the finish, and without coming off the bridle. He looked very smart visually. I mean, I don't really like to get too involved in timing these bumpers and etc. and that, because they could take such a step forward next time, or they could take such a step backwards. It's very unreliable. But I just thought visually that Petrosan was quite a taking performance. So I thought he would step forward for that. Whether or not he's going to go here, I have absolutely no idea. So, but I just thought he was worth a mention.
Well, one thing worth noting, we talk about how hard it is for the British to win this. Last year, looking at the first 10 home, 6 were trained in Ireland. Now, the British horses finished 4th, 6th, 8th and 10. Now, the 4th was third time lucky, multiple winner since. The 6th was Ocean Wind, a group winner on the flat. The 8th was the Glancing Queen, multiple winner since. And even One True King for Nigel Twiston-Davies, 100-1 in 10th. He then has come out and won 2 or 3 times since as well. So it's more of a race to, with a view to the future, looking for those handful of British horses who've managed to finish in the top half of the field, thinking they're probably going to make good hurdlers next year. Yeah,
absolutely. I totally agree. And I think this Petrosan is probably one for the future. So if he does go in here, I can see him running into 4th or 5th maybe, and a view to the future. Well, that's it, Andrew. That is day 2, really. We obviously, guys, we're not giving you, our set in stone selections at the moment. This is looking at the markets, how they are now as we get ever closer. Yeah, exactly. Work in progress, and we will have the full preview out for GG. The date will be announced. Hopefully, I'll be able to give you the date next week on next week's show when we look at day 3. But for now, that's been day 2 at Cheltenham Festival. Thank you very much for joining us.